Welcome back to a very basic space program. We are on episode, I think it's 23 now. Last time we put our first little orbiter around the moon, it was 1960. This episode, I think we're going to do some return from orbit stuff. So yeah, we've got some other missions going on. Please join me. Right, this is actually my second time recording this because I recorded it and the recording failed. So I'm actually having to go over some stuff I've just done. So the first thing that I actually was talking about in this video, or should have been talking about in this video, is this interesting little situation. Luna 6 says it has 44 days of battery. But at the end of the last episode, we saw that Luna 6 said, oh, I've got 6 hours. All I can think of is we've turned some systems off on it that we weren't using, which were already off at that time. All I can think of is it's to do with data transmission because we've got no samples being transmitted at the moment. So without transmitting any samples and without science going on, it's got 44 days of electricity. When we start transmitting data or doing science, that's going to drop. So we should get a little bit more data out of it, which is good. That has taken us to 44.8 science in total here, and I haven't actually spent that yet. I'm not in a rush to spend it, but we did get some upgrade points, and I put them into R&D. I also came over to Mission Control, and we have accepted the Advanced Biological Suborbital Experiment. So we have to send an Advanced Biological Capsule up with 200 units of sounding rocket payload and bring it back down. It says suborbital trajectory. However, we're going to combine that. We're going to try and combine it with this reach orbital speed and return safely. So this requires that we go up to, let's see, altitude above 150. You may complete this contract up to 2 times. Second completion will require getting into orbit with a minimum perigee. Oh, that's interesting. So it goes up so we need to go over 150. We've got to go over orbital speed. It's actually not even orbital speed. That you can be at 150 and that speed and not be in orbit, but we'll let that go. So we're going to complete this and that at the same time. I would really like to know, thank you very much, Jean. I would really like to know if you would like to see the lunar orbital and lunar impact contracts again. The impactor has 2 more to do, and the orbiter has 1 more to do, and that is going to be the same craft we've already used. So we already have being built Luna 7, Luna 5. Luna 5 is the impactor, Luna 7 is the orbiter. I am tempted to do those off camera and just get them done. Do another Luna 5 as well, so we get those 3 contracts done. We get the 2 impactors, the 1 orbiter done, and then that's those basic moon ones done. You don't need to see the exact same mission again. If you want to see it, comment down below. If you don't want to see it, comment down below. Please comment no matter what. It helps the algorithm, it helps the channel, it helps me to know what you would like to see. I think this episode we're going to be looking at the advanced biological and so orbital return. We're going to do that. Next episode, I'm hoping that we're getting to the point here where basic capsules will be available. So that will possibly be next episode, and I will do those lunar missions in between off camera. So feedback down below. And yeah, let's go build ourselves a return vehicle. Right, so we're going to call our return vehicle Pathfinder. We're just going to save that. And I've already actually done some work on this because it was off camera. So I'm going to talk you through what we've done. We have our heat shield. This is a 1.5 meter heat shield. I could go smaller. We've got a little science probe core, best avionics we've got. A little bit of extra space in it, but I'm not too worried about that. It has electric charge, it says, for 51 days. However, I do not think, oh, we've got this set to light permanently. I don't think that's going to be the case because we're going to have other stuff attached. Now, the plan is to put this on top of a javelin. However, if we're up in orbit, we might as well do some film cameras. So we'll take the film camera up. I don't believe there's anything. Oh, now I could put the improved film camera up there. Ooh, that is a temptation, isn't it? That takes 2 years though, so we're not doing that. So we're going to put the film camera up as well, but we don't need to bring it down because in here we can actually see, let me have a look, where are we? Sample capacity, there we go. We're going to actually increase that a little bit. We're going to get 4 slots just in case. I know this only takes 1, I think, but you know what? We'll do that anyway. So total mass of this craft currently is 0.33 tons. Not light, but not heavy. This here is a a conventional structure, hollow cone. We've been using a lot of hollow structures, and that's allowed me to put the advanced biological sample in the middle of it. All I've done is actually set it to be the correct width. So there's actually a hole in the middle there this fits into. You don't actually even need to do this. If you really want to be sort of, I think, cheaty, you wouldn't use a hollow one. But we're just wrapping out, but this is supposed to be the biological sort of equipment, the systems that monitor the biological samples, things like that. We're wrapping that around the outside of it. I think that's allowed. It doesn't need a window. I don't think we have, whatever this is, koalas looking out of a window at space. So I'm not feeling too bad about that. Obviously, we'll colour it in some horrible garish colours just to make it more interesting. And then we've got a parachute on the bottom. Now, when we attach the parachute, you have to remember, and this is important, you have to go to action groups. You have to click on the parachute. First of all, I always put it on 5 for arming, but you have to come down here, and these are the changes I've made. First of all, I've gone down in size. It could be bigger, I've gone down. When I first looked at it, it was about 0.1 tons. So you go down, you put the correct size, you can choose where you're going to be. You can choose what sort of chute it is, and then importantly, this is the important bit, number of parachutes used. This will always come up as 1. I always change it to 2 because this parachute pack, this circular one, actually has 2 parachutes in it. You can also, there's a number for, there we are, spare chutes, 5. You can reduce that to 1. I don't believe it actually has an impact on the mass, but let's try that. Let's try putting it to 1 and apply settings. Oh, it does. It reduces it. I didn't know that. That's interesting. The last time I did this, it didn't do that. So that's a change, I think, or the parachute was so small. Remember, the case actually is probably what costs the most for mass. The actual parachute itself is very light. So yeah, you can see that actually the case mass there is more than half of the total mass. So yeah, the parachute's not so much. I've changed my pre-deployment altitude to 3,000 meters just because I like the air to help me out as much as possible before I trigger them. And then I stagger, because you can see there's actually 2 parachutes here. This is one, there's another one at the bottom. I've got the first one going at 750 meters and the other one at 1,000, and that's just so that they don't both trigger at the same time and rip my craft to bits, ideally. And you shouldn't really need to do that, but that's just what I do. So that is done. We'll save that. Now I need to somehow get this back. What I'm thinking is we want it to be up for about an hour. I can actually put it in an orientation. We can actually orientate it prior to decoupling it from the upper stage, which I think is what we'll do, and then we'll have some sort of mechanism for bringing it back out of the atmosphere. So how are we going to bring it back down? That is a good question. What have we got in the way of solid engines? What have we got? Well, we got one of these. We could stick one of those on there. What does that do for me? That gives me 300 meters per second. That's a big chunk. That's a big chunk of meters per second, actually. That might be the right thing to do. It might be too much, though. I think it's probably going to be too much. What we could do, though, is actually, if we put that there and then that underneath it, that's going to be significantly less, because how much does this add to it? So this takes it to almost half a ton. So let's get a decoupler. We'll put a decoupler on there. I want one of these hollow interstages. We'll change it in a minute. And then we'll do that. Right, so that's now 0.6 of a ton. That's a lot of mass. I could actually short fuel this, I suppose. Just give myself a little bump out. That might be better. So we've got that. That's an option. The other option is that we just need a little bit of thrust to get us out. So what is my small ones? I've got some of these separation motors. I've also got spin motors. Now we don't have the mercury ones yet because they've not been done. Let's have a look. What have we actually got available to us? We have these. What are those? I think the separation motors are actually better. They actually are. These give me a better thing, but what would one of these do for me? Is it enough? Is it enough to get me out of orbit is the question I've got to ask. So, because all I need is enough to get me out. 55 meters per second. I think that might be enough. I do actually think that might be enough to get us out. that might be enough. If we're on a very low orbit and we actually use our upper stage just to prep for it and put our orientation correctly, that might be enough just to pull us out of orbit. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. So let's do that actually. Let us do that, and I'm actually going to attach it. I am going to attach it onto the biological sample because I have a horrible feeling if I attach it to the parachute, things will go horribly wrong. So we'll just imagine that it's got a bracing on either side of the parachute or something. There we go. And we'll just pop this down. There we go. Good stuff. Right, so that's Pathfinder 1 there. We're going to take this, put it there. We want to make this smaller. So this is going to be the diameter of the parachute. There we go. And that's us sort of done. We're going to be able to move things across into here. So we're going to take the film. Imagine there's a little tube that just transfers the film up to here, around the side, and then gets decoupled. That's how that's going to work. We're going to imagine that. I could put some struts. I could do a Calvin McClure thing and just do some structural sort of tanks down the side or something, but we won't do that. That way leads to craziness. So that is Pathfinder. I'm going to stick it onto a rocket now. I'm going to sort the staging out. I'll stick it onto a rocket, and then we'll be ready to build it. So I will be right back once it is on one of our rockets. Right, I have taken Pathfinder 1 and I have placed it upon a javelin. Yeah, because we've got a javelin. You'll notice it has a couple of caster ones on there, but that's all. We haven't gone for the full 6 caster ones on there. So I have a good chunk of delta V there. That caster will hopefully get us off the pad at a nice sea level thrust of 1.8, and then of course when that burns off, we're going to have a slightly slower rise to orbit, but we'll already be on our way. We'll have put 500 meters per second into the system already at that point, so that's going to be okay. We're coming in at just over 60 tons, 67 tons, because, which is annoying because it does mean we're over the tonnage for the 60 ton pad, but we've got a 150 ton pad now. One thing I did not mention is that I have also, and I'm not sure if it'll show it here, I have also started building our 4th pad, which is 350 tons. I've started that with the money that we've got from the sort of pre-contracts, the retainers, whatever it is we've got for the other contracts, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the Americans call it. So this is Pathfinder 1. We're going to save that. We're going to check off, first of all, can I do some tooling? Yes, we're going to have to do that. That procedural tank is going to need done, and the avionics is going to need done. So we're going to tool that. Thank you very much. It's going to cost us 6,000. That's not pennies, is it? This is going to take 100 days to build, which is a lot actually, considering what it is. So we'll say we'll launch that. Oh, we do not have the heat shield available. Oh, let's see if I can do it now. Now it will do it. So if you actually have it available to you, but you actually haven't paid for it, sometimes it will do that if you don't have it clicked properly. So there we go. Unlock that part for whatever that was. That's interesting. So we've got that done. We're gonna, let's see, just check that that's actually in the build list. It is. We're gonna move it to the top, and then we're gonna prepare Pathfinder 2 as well, and we're gonna launch that, and we're gonna prepare Pathfinder 3 because I'm gonna need a few of these. I think the advanced biological missions have, I think there's 3 of them, and then we also have the camera on this, which will be really useful, and we may go polar. I haven't decided. We might try for a polar launch with this, so we'll see. Right, I am gonna get out of this and wait for 100 days, and then I will see you on the launch pad. We are 100 days on. We're now in the 18th of November 1960, and Luna 6 is out of electricity finally, so that it's not a glitch that's been going on. It's actually just been, and it has been transmitting science for us. 59 science now in there, so we can actually have a look at what do we want to sort of invest long term into. Well, I want more avionics. I've already said that. We want deep space avionics. Definitely want that. We could go for radial separation motors and upgrading our casters and baby sergeants, and then that takes us all the way up to Algols and Altairs and Antares and radial larger motors, and then that takes us up to let's have a look, Minutemen and Algol 2s and stuff like that. And then where's Caster 2 actually? Where is there we are, Caster 2's up here. We could also go for stability, which would give us, but not much actually. It doesn't give us much. That's interesting. We get a propulsion system for the Mariner, and we get propulsion system there. And then what does this give us? That gives us the thrusters. Have we already got the? Right, we already have the 1K. So unless we're going to take the big jump and go for 2 of them, I don't think it's really worth it for us. That is a nice hydrazine thruster that might be useful. We'll think about that potentially for landing on the moon. And then we've also got things like operating engines. So we've got, let's have a look what we've got here. Anything useful? We do have an operated config for our main engine on our Javelin, so we could actually operate the Javelin. And then later on, I think, and again along here we get another operating of that. And then there we go, the RD-0109, which is a big upgrade for our second stage engine. So these two are potentially a nice track to go on. Alternatively, we could go and try and improve our solar panels, because they are terrible at the moment, because they degrade and they're wasteful and terrible. And that'd be 39. I think I want to improve these though. I think we want to go down the engine route just for a little bit. There we go. And then I think maybe we look at this. If I've not used the Ranger Mariner propulsion system before, I don't know if it's new or I've just never noticed it. I'll have to have a look, and actually have a look and see if we can do anything. So anyway, let's go launch this camera and whatnot into orbit. Right, here we are on the launch pad. We're just getting everything set up. You will notice, however, the nav ball is brown. That means we're pointing towards the ground. Well, we're not pointing. Yes, our probe on the top here is facing downwards, so we need to actually make sure we're not flying incomplete. Now, if you fly manually, not a problem. But we're gonna use Smart ASS, and this will confuse Smart ASS. It would also probably confuse PVG. So what you need to do is find the probe core. I'm going to choose this probe core here, and we're going to control from here, and there we go. It sorts it out. So we're ready to go. Let's launch this, and then we can talk a little bit about what's going on. Right, there we go. Fire the engines. Lovely. Obviously, we've got a nice thrust to weight as we leave the pad with this craft. It's more like a Russian takeoff, although, you know, the Americans, when they use solids, do have a high thrust to weight as well. The Russians tend to, with most of their engines, go for quite a high thrust to weight. I was always told it was because of the high wind, but I think, I don't know, it's maybe just a different philosophy. There was, a suggestion that it was to do with the wind, because they didn't like the fact that they were launching from windy environments, and it was would throw the rockets off and things like that, and they wanted to get out of the lower atmosphere quickly and things like that. I'm not sure what the true reason is why they tended to have a higher sea level thrust to weight ratio. I don't know. So we're going to head up there, and while we're going up, again, we're going to go equatorial with this launch, because I'm not too bothered about where this one goes. This one is basically our Pathfinder 1. It's going to go equatorial. We've got probably enough delta V to go polar, and we might try that with future ones. But for this one, not too worried. We've lost our... There we go. Our casters can go. And we're going up nicely. You can see I've put it on positive surface velocity. So it's looking at surface velocity, and it's pointing me at it with -1 degree of pitch on it. So that's what we're actually doing there. And we're just going to go up and see how we do, and I will actually take control now, because we're now getting to a point where I want to have a bit more control over what we're doing. Now we're going to pitch down a little bit. One thing that has actually I've been thinking about is the missions that are actually put together in RP-1, and it's interesting. There isn't a mission that really represents testing your craft for organisms entering orbit. We're doing 2 missions here today. We're doing the advanced biological mission and then the return from orbit mission. But actually, you do need one that's a combination of the two, because the advanced biological just requires that you go at, I think the maximum one is 4.5 kilometers per second, which is not orbital speed. It's close to it, but it's not orbital. And then the return from orbit just requires that you return from orbit. It does what it says on the tin, sort of thing. So it's a bit of an interesting situation, actually. you think about the Americans and the Russians. The Americans, yes, they did send a chimp up on a suborbital hop, but then their first crewed flight was suborbital as well. And then I don't know, did they send up chimps on Atlas? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if they actually did chimp flights to orbit and then return. The Russians, however, they did send animals up before crew that we know of. You know, the Russians, the Soviets like to keep things secret. So we're not sure entirely about that, but there we go. Just do that stage. Thank you. Should have actually done the fairings well before that. There you go. You can see our craft has not even been painted. I didn't actually paint it. We just launched it as it is because it's going to get charred on the way down anyway. So the Russians did do that. So it would be nice if there was something, maybe a stepping stone from the orbital return, maybe an optional orbital return with an advanced biological capsule or something like that. Something like that would be quite nice to show that you've tested it, or even dummy payload. Sending up something that's the size of a crew with a crew capacity but no crew on, and as a little stepping stone for realism. I don't know. The problem being, of course, the Americans did do pretty much what we're sort of doing now. They sent up basically somebody on a suborbital hop, and then that was what they did. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't entirely know which whether I like the pathway as it is or whether you want to add something to it. I'm not entirely sure. Right, let's just speed this up a little bit though, because we've got 3.5 minutes of burn time to get through. So let's do that. You can see we are gaining on our apoapsis quite significantly. I'm setting it on 0 because I don't mind about it sort of dropping a little bit. I don't mind later using a bit of fuel up once we get to on our apoapsis just to maintain it. Our thruster weight is reasonable at the moment. The interesting thing is we do have a max thruster weight of 4, which would mean it would be a bit. Would it be tight? It wouldn't be not tight. Let's put it that way. It'd be tight on humans being comfortable. They would definitely know they'd been launched. 4 times gravity is a bit tasty for them, I think. So there we go. So right now you can see that we're starting to fall a bit. What I actually want is to get to an orbit of about 150 overall, 160. We need to be over 150 for our apoapsis. We could use RCS on orbit to fix this. I'm not too worried about whether we do that or not. I am also concerned that by having a very low orbit, we might have a problem with with time warp, because I've been having a lot of little odd issues recently with Realism Overhaul, with time warping. I might as well get Principia is actually what I've realised, because it's throwing all sorts of little curveballs to me, particularly in the British series where things have just decided they were going to crash into planets, and I've kept them in the series because, well, these things happen. Obviously our readings aren't good, but I don't know, it's getting a little annoying. So we'll see. I may have to save this thing once it's in orbit before I actually do any time warping, which is a bit silly actually. Right, so our vertical speed is coming down. So I'm going to just start to turn this, because this thing does not have the best of orientation control, shall we say. We could actually put, you know what, I'm going to turn the RCS on so that we can actually do this. And we're going to do a little bit of this and bring it down. And you can see that our vertical speed is getting closer to 0. We're starting to actually slow our fall down. And we don't want to slow that down too much too quickly in reality. So what I'm going to do is, we'll do it now. Do that to 0, and there we go. Right, so once this starts to turn, then we're going to be looking at when can I stop the engine, and it's going to be now. There we go. Okay, that's not bad. Right, we are in orbit, but we're actually just in orbit, so we want to get to our apoapsis and then pull that up. So I will take this craft around to its apoapsis, and we'll show you that in a second. We have signal at the moment, so I'm actually going to do this. We're going to put it in orbit. We're going to go prograde. We're going to turn on the RCS because we have the ability to do that. And we're actually going to do the thrusting here because we've got signal. I'm concerned we may lose signal. So do a little bit of forward thrust. There we go. Of course, the engine won't fire, but we can get ourselves into a nice tasty little orbit. There we go. Sorted. I'm going to put it up to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take it to about 160 if I can. That gives us a nice bit of leeway, just in case we have any problems while on orbit. So there we go. Right, now we need to think about in a few orbits when we want to bring ourselves down. So first of all, let's get rid of all of this debris in orbit. I don't need to see any of it. Don't show me anything, please. Right. We'll be wanting to do our return burn here. Right. And we want to do about 50, which is gonna, yeah, that's gonna take us down, isn't it? That's gonna, what's that gonna do? Yeah, it takes us in the atmosphere, and we're only at 20. So I think we've got enough delta V on this thing to really not be concerned. What's 55 gonna do for us? 55 will take us into oblivion. Actually, it's going to take us down quite quickly. Right, so that's where we want to do the burn. Now, next step, we don't want to do it this orbit, because that's in 11 minutes. So we need to add it on. We're going to go, we need to be in, I think, in orbit for an hour for the cameras and things like that. So let's do a couple of orbits. What's our power looking like? We've got 3 hours of power, and that's with the lower stage on. So let's go for there. Right. So that's what we want to do. Now we're going to do our little trick again, where we're going to actually position ourselves on the target there. Right. So we're going to go to, get this down out of the way. We're going to go to the node. There we go. And we're going to start our spin. Although I don't know if I should spin or not. This is stopped, so we need to start that. We need to start our biological sample. That's going to take, oh, now that's a day. You know what? I suppose the orbit's going to be the same though, isn't it? So I'm not too worried about that. We could actually change this. Let's change this to be in a day. There we go. It's in a day now. 1 day, 1 hour, something else going on. Okay. Right. So now we're going to position ourselves. How very nice. Wonderful. Oh, it's having trouble. It is having trouble getting onto it, which is quite interesting. Is it because of the way that we've weighted ourselves, I think? Ooh. Because it's such a small amount. Ah. So what we actually need to do is, I need to do this. There we go. That's better. We actually need to do that bit, because although we're not going to burn that much, we need to actually, we need this, the lateral side-to-side movements that we're going to generate with the RCS not to cause it to flip out as much. We've actually really infected our orbit by doing that, because there is some, because it's non-balanced and things like that, the way Kerbal works, it throws it off a little bit, shall we say. Right, so there we go. So that's now ready. Now, let's have a look. We have 2 hours of electric charge. I want to get rid of some of that into here. So I want to pump that out. Right. Okie doke. And then I want to decouple. Okay. And then we want to jump to Pathfinder. There we are. And we're going to arm its parachutes, so they are ready. So this is now ready to go, and it's just going to basically sit there doing the science. It's got, oh, it's only got 19 hours. Oh, that's annoying, but we're going to send a few of these up. So now the next part is I'm going to sit with this in orbit for 19 hours, and I'll see you when it's pretty much ready to come back. So we have been in orbit for 16 hours, and we're going to bring the craft home early because, well, we can't get a full sample out of this anyway. And it's got a bit of a roll on it, so I'm aware of that. So what are we actually going to do? First of all, we need to get the samples out of here and into there. Now, this should be a case of transferring the data. We've got 4 slots of data. There we go. All that stuff is now in there. Wonderful. Is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope that is actually all of it. What's in here now? I can't actually see what's in there. That's annoying. Anyway, that's done. So now we're sort of ready. So we're going to need to wait for this thing to rotate round. Now, we originally, I hoped that it would be in the correct orientation depending upon how I was doing things. However, it's developed a roll. Partly, I think, because we decoupled from that upper stage, I think it just induced a slight roll in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until it rotates round until it's facing. Well, it will say it's facing prograde, but that's not a problem for us because it's actually not about it facing prograde because we've got the probe core in backwards. So what we're going to do is, that's it going to be facing prograde. There we are. Good. Stop that there. Right, now we're going to fire up off, and there we go. We are done. Now we are suborbital. Well, we're not suborbital yet. So you can see we're actually going to hit the atmosphere, which is nice. This should be a reasonably gentle return. We've hit the parachutes, 5 on the parachute, so that's ready. And yeah, we're going to be ready for atmospheric interface. So we're going to roll round, and no doubt we'll come in backwards, and then it'll be an absolute nightmare for us when we come through the atmosphere. Now, the hope is this craft doesn't just turn round and face the wrong way. So we're going to just bring it round a few ways. It's not controllable. Right, so we're coming into the atmosphere. We're uncontrollable at the moment, so it's tumbling, and we're hoping that this heat shield will actually orientate itself down. I do not want it to have this side come down first, and we've got a roll at the moment, so I'm hoping it's just going to roll out of whatever direction it wants to head in. Oh, come on, roll round, roll round, roll round a bit more, please. This is the worst possible interface angle we could have, because it might find itself stable this way. That would be a problem. We really need this side to come down first. That's what our hope is. It should self-stabilize. I'm hoping it's going to self-stabilize it, but we'll see. We will see. Right, it's turning. It's turning. Are we losing any speed at the moment? Not yet. It's going to be interesting to see where we come down, actually. I've not even plotted where we are. Where are we right now? What is this piece of land here? What is this? I don't know. I don't recognize you. Right, is it still turning? It is. It is turning. Come on. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I've got a horrible feeling this thing is going to not be stable when it enters the atmosphere, which would be a problem for us. It'd be a big problem. So we're just going to watch it coming down. Okie doke. Right. It's got a slight tumble. I'm hoping the atmosphere is going to grab it now. I hope now grab it now. Grab it now. This is where we want to be. This is where I want to be. Yeah, hold us here. Hold us here. This is good. This is good. Yeah, this is where you want to be, isn't it? This is the way you want to be. Come on. No, no. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back. Come on. Oh, no, 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 no. It's slowing down when it's at this sort of point here, so I'm hoping it's actually going to orientate itself. Yeah, I think we've got it. I think it's self-stabilizing now. So there is always this thing. I could have actually just had a look at stuff on Ferrum and things like that and try and predict its sort of angle of attack and things like that. But we'll see how this goes. All right, here we go. Coming in through the atmosphere. Just a little bit more to go. Come on. Let's get the speed up still. We'll keep the speed up. We will potentially slow it down when it starts to hit the sort of thicker stuff, because we don't want it wobbling. And sometimes physical time warp can have these things wobble a little weirdly. So there we go. Right. What is this? That looks... Where are we? I could look on the map view, but this is interesting. I want to say Asia. Sort of Asia. I bet it's Europe. I bet it's Europe. I bet I'm actually completely wrong. What's this? What are you there? Maybe that's Istanbul. Am I coming over the Mediterranean possibly? No, this would be closer, wouldn't it? Oh, maybe that's... No, that's not... This is interesting, actually, trying to guess where you are. Of course, I could actually just look down at the grid references and go, I'm in the southern hemisphere and I'm to the east. So, yeah, probably Asia or some sort like that. I'm not sure where. Right, continuing on down through the atmosphere. Getting a bit of heat on here now. Let's have a look. We've got a bit of a blazer going off, and that's fine. That is there to take the heat. I've had some issues with heat shields on other series recently, and it's been annoying me a little bit. So we're definitely charring the older blazer. That's good. We're starting to get a bit of the noise coming in. We're getting plasma build-up, obviously. We are burning through quite a lot of ablator, actually. I suppose this is a low Earth orbital heat shield. It's not like a lunar heat shield, so it's designed to burn off quite a bit. We could have actually put a lot less ablator on this. Looking at that, that's we could have lightened this. However, the ablator there has helped weigh down one side of it, so that's actually given us stability. So let's have a look. So what are our missions looking like? Let's check this. So this has got to return home. What's the other one? Where is our reach orbital speed? Yeah, this is return home as well. Didn't check those before we started on the way back. That's a a little concerning, isn't it? Right. So, come on, all the way down. We're actually going very slowly. I'm guessing because of the size of that. I'm not sure we needed pre-shoots or anything. We don't need drogues with this craft. It's a bit of a sort of wide boy for its weight, isn't it? 1.2, was it 1.5? 1.5 meters across. It's actually quite chunky. So it's got a nice cross-surface area, cross-sectional area is the word I'm looking for. So it's going to come down now, and we're going to slow down around the 3000. There we go. So we're going to slow down a bit. So we've got our speed down to normal speed now. No physical time warp. Parachutes are out. Okay, I think this is our first return from a high orbital speed, isn't it? We did the biological samples, we did not up. I think this is our first return from orbit, so that'd be interesting actually. I keep in my head thinking we've done all this before. We haven't. We've not actually put anything into orbit and returned it before. So that's quite cool. So this is now opened at 1000. You see, nice gentle slowdown. Then this one opens 750. Another bit of slowdown. And we're going to come down at hopefully about 6, I predicted. But interestingly, it is not going to be. That's interesting. And it's not the mass of this because this is tiny. So we'll have to see. Coming all the way down. And we're going to splash down in the water, and this thing's probably going to go crazy. So what I will do is, I will, as we come down to the water, end this episode here. And so from me, until next time, have a great one.